This is Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm JD.
I'm Drew. I am Jonathan Scott.
And we have a whole new week of issues and things to talk about. We've been going over your emails and your social media comments.
I'm pretty impressed, actually. The response has been great. You guys are loving the show. You're liking the topics that we bring up. And you've even suggested some topics, too, that I think are going to be a lot of fun to discuss.
Yeah, we'll try and work those into the show.
Halloween pranks. I actually love that. Cheryl wants us to talk about what we've done in the past for Halloween pranks. The Scott Brothers, we don't do pranks. We're too good for that. No. So maybe that's a topic we'll bring up in our next segment.
Let's take a look at some of the comments, actually. We got one here from Jane Smith 33 who said she's glad Huffington Post got rid of anonymity on the internet. If you're going to say something, have the guts to take ownership of it.
This was something that actually sparked a lot of debate in the U.S. because Obama's camp, they wanted to implement a registration for the internet so that everybody who was using the internet had to log in and be registered. There was no anonymity at all, and there was a backlash. People said it's an invasion of their rights, that it's a terrible idea. Personally, I have nothing to hide. If I have an opinion, I'll state it, and I don't mind if people know who I am.
This is all the bullies that they don't want to lose that mask.
Well, exactly. And I'm no troll. I have nothing to hide. If I'm going to say something online, I have no problem showing it. But that's what we were talking about last week, and it really did spark a lot of interest. One of the debates as well that brings up, people say that it makes you a target, though. If you don't have that anonymity and you want to stand up for your opinion, that all of a sudden it makes you a target for these other people that want to attack you. So there's still a lot of debate going back and forth. I'm happy that the Huffington Post has made a decision on the point and stood up for what I think is right. People just need to not hide behind that cloak of anonymity anymore.
And I see that happen with a lot of sites too. It's not just them. A lot of sites you have to log in with a verified account in order to use them these days and comment.
Well, we also talked about self-driving cars last week, and I was very interested to see this, with people saying whether they're for it or against it. A lot of people saying that they love the idea that they'd be able to get more work done on the way to work instead of having to drive their vehicle or get stuck in traffic. Talking about that kind of tech could expand into an entire show. I have so many opinions and stuff that I've seen that's coming up. I do agree that I don't think the solution to better traffic is adding more lanes, adding more vehicles, more pollution. I think that the solution is taking the technical aspects of driving out of the hands of the drivers, because they're the ones that are making the mistakes, and also taking more vehicles off the road to lesser congestion. So that's why I think there's going to be a lot more carpooling. I just think we need flying cars. It's far past time.
No,
I mean,
transporters. That's where it's at.
That's even better. Transporters.
A lot of people were also mentioning our voices this week. So they're not having as much trouble telling us apart anymore.
That's true. We've actually implemented one more thing. We have Drew suffering an allergy attack right now, so he sounds all stuffed up. That's how you can tell us apart. I'm a little nasally. Actually, I could do some great country singing right now with my nasally voice.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. I'm gonna love you forever. You want me to continue? It's Randy Travis.
Why are you twerking while you're doing that? Isn't that the second time you've done that on the air? Same little bit?
I only know two songs, Happy Birthday and Forever and Ever Amen. This is funny. Another comment that, actually a few of them that I had come in, some people were saying to us that we constantly are saying that we're going to dish the dirt on each other, and we never do. So they said, we hype it a lot, but we don't back up our words. So I feel like today we need to actually dish some dirt. We will, but I mean, honestly, I have dirt on Jonathan and JD, but there is no dirt on me. I'm an angel. I do nothing wrong.
That is ridiculous.
Well,
boy.
Before we get to some dirt, how about we answer a couple of the questions that we've seen come in through our social media. So here we have one question asking about future appearances. Where will you guys be appearing? Well, we will be appearing in October 19th. We're going to be in Vancouver. We appear all over the place. The easiest way is just to go to thescottbrothers.com/events. That shows any of our live appearances. We, recently were in Calgary. We've done Toronto a lot. We're all over the place. Just head to the website there, and it's got all the dates. Washington, D.C., actually, that's going to be fun coming up as well. Yeah. Another question. Want to know, Jonathan, how do you keep your hair looking so good? We're on radio. How do you know his hair looks good right now? That's why I'm doing radio. I take care of my hair. I don't know why I'm called the hair of the network, but apparently it has paid off. Actually, it's kind of a cool tie-in, too. I'm doing a new campaign with Dove Men Plus Care hair. It's a King of the Castle home upgrade. because we want to find one guy out there who really wants to improve his castle, make his house 3 times stronger. So we're giving away these bizarre prizes, things like a moat. I'm actually going to build a moat into somebody's house with a functioning drawbridge, if that's the prize that they choose, or like some imperial guards that will do a changing of the guards ceremony, or the ultimate treehouse. That's something that I want to do. So it was funny because so many people were commenting about my hair all the time that's why they approached me to do that campaign.
Uh,
Now, I just think that JD and I have to get on something now. Since you have this fancy hair campaign, maybe I'll do, I don't know.
Foot powder.
Yeah, there we go. Gold Bond. I'll be
Itch.
the new face of Gold, the new foot of Gold Bond. When I see you, I do think about medicated itch powder.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question.
Jock itch.
Here's one for JD. JD, what is something that you want to do before you die? What's on your bucket list?
Well, I can tell you there's probably a lot of things that I want to do before I die. But on my bucket list, I really want to go to Egypt. I've never done that. The pyramids. I'm a big fan of all things Egyptology.
Is that a real word?
It is. I don't think I used it correctly.
No,
but
that's all right. There's lots of stuff. I think if we were to narrow it down to one thing for me, I want to do a safari. I would love to just go and do an African safari. Whoa, Jonathan. No one asked what you want to do. They only asked for JD. Nobody cares what I do. That's okay. We've got lots more. There's so much stuff. You asked a lot of great questions, so we'll get back to some more of those. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about how to prepare your house for the fall, what kind of maintenance you need to do, and also how to give your place a fresh look. Jonathan will keep talking till it's spring on those topics. We'll also talk about how mobile apps have changed the dating scene.
And we're also going to be talking to Emily Wallman, who's the editor of Lonely Planet, the travel giant. And we're going to find out how I can get a job with them.
Who doesn't want a job with them? That and more coming up on this week's episode of Off Topic. And don't forget, if you do want us to answer your question, get online, Twitter and Facebook. I'm Mr. Silver Scott, Drew's Mr. Drew Scott, and JD is at Mr. JD Scott. Or hit us up at thescottbrothers.com. And use that hashtag ScottTalk.
You're listening to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic. I'm Jonathan Scott. I'm Drew Scott.
And I'm JD Scott.
We were talking about all kinds of stuff that you need to do to your house to prepare it for the fall. And a lot of these are questions that we answer online. So if you're going to hit us up through social media. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. Drew's at Mr. Drew Scott. And, of course, at Mr. JD Scott. These are the questions that we'll answer. But you need to keep your house maintained if you want it to last forever. I've come into a lot of houses where they're just totally beat up. Nobody has done anything to them, and especially going into the winter months, you can set yourself up for failure. Now, I have a question, though, for you, Jonathan. I mean, personally, it's easy to maintain my home because all I do is say, hey, Jonathan, come over, do my house, do your magic.
If only everybody Not everybody has a Jonathan. That's the problem.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff you can do yourself. You don't have to bring somebody in to do things like cleaning the gutters. That's one of the simplest things to do. In the fall, all the leaves are coming down. They're blocking up your gutters. Problem is, then once you start to get some of the rain and some of that snow and the freezing, it can actually work its way up underneath your shingles. It can cause a lot of rot, a lot of problems, and you can get damming as well with the ice, which can, in the spring, especially when it starts to melt, it leaks right into the structure of your home. Well, you also get the misaligned pipes. When there's a lot of wear and tear on your gutters and your pipes, then they start to separate, and that's another big issue. And that can actually cause flooding in your basement as well, because if you don't have your downspouts angling away from the house, all of a sudden now you have this water penetrating your foundation wall. Exactly, and that's not a good thing. And the other thing, too, you can buy products that are sort of screens that go over your gutters. They're a little bit more expensive. There are some cheap ones that are useless, but there are some really good ones that snap on, and that saves you having to clean out the gutters. Moving on, you can also check for leaks. That's a big thing, too. It's pretty easy to do. You can actually get a candle that smokes, and you walk around the house and you can see where the air leaks are. But just look at the most common places: windows, doors, receptacles. Quite often you'll see around plugs that you'll get air blowing through. So you want to seal all of that stuff up, and all of that you can buy. All the repair kits you can buy at the hardware store. Now, we are not encouraging you to smoke in your house just to be able to see where the drafts are coming in. We're still anti-smoking. Yeah, no, it's just a smoking stick that you buy.
Now, here's an important one too. Ensuring that the roof is solid. I can't stress this enough. So many people do not maintain their roof, which causes leaks, which goes through your your attic and right through into your house, and that is where you get the big money damage.
Oh, I used to get calls when I was running the business in Calgary. A lot of people would have their roof cave in the wintertime, and one, it's because they don't realize if you get really heavy snow, wet, heavy snow, it weighs a lot. It'll actually collapse the roof if there's any rot or any structural compromise. So go up into your attic and see if there's any staining where you can see that it's already started to come through. You want to make sure that you get an expert in to check it out. Insulating is very important, and a lot of people just think they're walls. They think, oh, I have to make sure the R rating for my walls is high enough that it's what my house needs. But you got to think hot air rises, and if you don't have good insulation in your attic, then you're doing yourself a complete disservice. Your house will not be very efficient. And not just insulation as well, but also ventilation in the attic, because if you get all that hot, humid air going up into the attic and it has nowhere to go, it'll condense, it'll come back down onto the insulation, it'll flatten it out, it'll make it ineffective, and you'll also start to get mold. So you want to make sure that you take a look at all of those things. And again, you can just blow in more insulation on top of what you already have there, and it'll add a lot to the efficiency of your home. A lot of people are afraid to go into the mechanical room in their house. The furnace, people stay away from the furnace, but you have to make sure you maintain your furnace, more than once a year. You have to check in on it, and that way too you can make sure that you're efficiently, you're going to be saving on your heating bill, actually, if you just do a little bit of maintenance here and there. You sound like such a hypocrite. When is the last time that you personally went in and checked your filters? I do it all I have it. I have an app on my phone that reminds me when to call you to do this. You know what?
Your furnace is like your AC unit or your car. If you don't maintain it, it's going to die a lot sooner than it would otherwise.
And just run inefficiently too. You can save 20% on your heating bill if it's running efficiently. So just swapping out the filter is one of the easiest things to do. Yeah, you want to check everything else. Check that your ducts are all aligned. There's not leaks. If you go down to your mechanical room, you can see leaks in some of the lines, stuff like that. You want to make sure that nothing's pinched. It's just you have to have a proper working system if you want to get the most efficiency out of it. So make sure that your ducts are in a row. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, get your ducks in a row. Oh, that was bad. That's bad. Yeah. That's a dad joke. Windows as well. Windows are probably one of the biggest heat loss zones in your house. So you want to, this sounds so ridiculously simple, but it makes sense. Close your drapes in the wintertime. Just close your drapes, because then that will help keep the room insulated. You won't have to heat the air inside as much. What do you think of those films that you can put on the window that just help? I mean, you wouldn't think it. It's just a slim piece of film that you put over your window, but it can actually help a lot for holding in heat. They actually do. I mean, it's not adding a lot of R value, but it can actually help just radiate the heat back one way or the other. In the summertime, quite often it can keep the hot sun out, but it actually works on the inside too in the wintertime. I like the Mary Poppins element. I like the chimney sweep. You have to make sure, if you have a wood-burning fireplace, you want to make sure that chimney's clean, right? Chimney. You use a fan in the summertime to keep cool. Most people don't realize you can reverse it in the wintertime, and it's just as effective for bringing that hot air that's sort of sitting up on the ceiling. It brings it back down. And so if this is the trick to figure it out. If you're laying in bed, in the summer you want to feel the breeze coming down on you from the fan. That means it's set for the summer, it's cooling you down. You don't want to feel that in the wintertime, so you reverse it in the wintertime, and especially if you have 10 or 12 foot ceilings or higher, that's really when you want to reverse it, and it'll help keep your heating bills down. A lot of people have the concern, though, when you're getting into the fall, into the winter, that their pipes are going to freeze, and then all of a sudden the pipes may crack, and then you have a huge cost. So wrapping your pipes is an important thing if you have any exposed. We could go on for hours with all of the tips and the tricks, and we'll put these things onto our social media too. If you have an idea, something that everybody else should know, let us know. Post it on our pages.
Now, these tips are for winter, but you have to do this before it gets cold. Otherwise, you'll be out in the cold. See what I did there?
So lame.
Pun intended.
And then coming up, we're talking online dating. How have mobile apps changed the way we date? Is dating less personal than it used to be? Without question. We'll be right back. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic. This is Drew. This is Jonathan.
And this is JD.
We have talked in past episodes about the dating realm, and we also talked about, who picks up the tab on dates. But I have a new topic here, mobile apps and how they've changed dating. Is it less personal now than it used to be? I have a lot of apps. I use a lot of apps for everything. However,
I was just going to say, the reason, Drew, you're leading this is because you are the app addict among us.
But I'm in a relationship, so I don't use any of these. But there are a lot of dating apps out there, and I want to run down a little list to see if you guys have used any of these. Tinder is one that I came across, and what I find funny is it's a location-based hot or not app. Basically, you look through, you flip through. If you see someone you think's hot, you click on them. If they click on you from the other side, then you can set up a date.
See, how did you come across this? That's what I want to know. You just happened across
a friend
Tinder?
told me about it.
Yeah.
Do not tell my girlfriend that I'm searching dating apps. I'll be sleeping on the couch.
I think the funny thing is they've actually made it so straightforward because I think all you do is you swipe to the left if you don't like the person, and you swipe to the right if you do. Something like that. And then it sort of catalogs the potentials for you. I feel like I know way too much about this. When I saw we were talking about it, I started researching. There are apps for you can even. That's like, oh, this is nice. I could meet somebody. We could start to date. There are ones where you can skip the pleasantries and say, let's just have sex. And
hookup apps.
There's everything. So, but have you heard of? Is it Lulu? Have you heard of Lulu?
Yeah. Oh, the reviewing.
Yeah.
The man review app.
It is so. I fear if maybe I'm on there. I should go and get an account to see if I'm on there. But this is basically, I think people consider it more like a game kind of a thing. But it's a very childish kind of a site where you just tear guys apart. Any guy that you've dated, you go on there, you put his pros, his cons, you create hashtags for him. Total review, so someone can go on in the future and say, hey, this is a bad guy.
Now, I'm just saying, I think that if we were to create a woman side to this one, that there would be a little outrage.
You would be murdered.
There would be some outrage. I'm looking through. I mean, I'm on right now actually searching these as we're talking. Meet Me. Have you guys seen this? And it says there are 40 million users on this, but it's just another one. If you're bored and you want to meet up and you want to hook up, Meet Me.
Well, there's also Badoo, and will fully admit I have been on Badoo, and it's for meeting people, but. I
thought you meant as a review, like someone had reviewed you. So it's an actual meeting app.
It's a friend app, and I've used it. And it is actually. I met one of my best friends in the entire world on there, and we've been friends now for about six years.
Okay, but you have to be honest with me here. When you went on that site, and this girl, I'm assuming it's a girl, and you met her, what was her expectation at first? Was she looking for a relationship?
No, she was on there because she thought the whole idea was funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you are 100% being honest? There was nothing at all? You weren't hoping for the
hold on. Let's go back. Let's just say a total generic question, yes or no answer. Have you hooked up with this person?
No.
Oh, that failed. I thought I was going to get some dirt here.
Or he's lying to you. Okay, there are hookup apps, though. And actually, there's one. It's actually a friend of mine developed this app, Guy Spy. It's a gay-only app. And basically, if you're in a city and you want to see if there are any other gay men around that just want to hook up, Guy Spy.
Seems to be too simple. There has to be a catch or something. It just seems like all of these hookup things or just randomly meet people. Whatever happened to actually just going out and having some social skills and being able to meet cool people?
Now you can do it in private so that no one knows you're a pervert.
That used to be called creeping. Yeah, exactly.
I just find, when you see sites that were like Lava Life, for example, where it's online dating and you're meeting, this is for relationships. But
that's for all three. Lava Life, I know for a fact, has just sort of a dating one, has a relationship one, and it has random hookup one. So it has like all three. I feel like
he knows for a fact.
I know for a fact. I have friends that actually are married and met on Lava Life. But same with like Plenty of Fish or Match.com. I feel like Plenty of Fish or Match.com are more sort of the wholesome, sort of looking for a nice relationship.
I'm not sure I'd say wholesome, but little known fact, Plenty of Fish is a Vancouver company.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
really?
actually, I believe Lava Life is a Toronto company.
So Canadians are really savvy with the dating sites.
Well, it's because it's so cold in the wintertime, you got nothing better to do than sit on your computer and find people to hook up with. I don't know.
Bang with friends? Have you heard that one?
How can you go from I'm having a nice, wholesome conversation with JD, and you just jump in with
Yeah.
How about bang with friends?
So basically, you connect with your Facebook, and then you choose which of your friends you'd be interested in just spending one night with. And if they hop on there, you encourage them to go on to bang with friends too. And if they click on you, boom, all of a sudden, one of your longtime friends, you can just bang.
There's no romancing that. That is just straight to the point.
I think that's the purpose of the app.
So does so you select people, and does it automatically tell everybody that you selected that you're interested, or is it only if they also select you?
Personally, I don't use it, so I don't know. However, I'm guessing that it doesn't broadcast that to the world, because then you would just be known by all your friends as a pervert.
And go out on Facebook as Drew has added the Bang with Friends app.
Yeah, I hate that when you get those in it. And Drew, I don't know why you're looking at me. You're the one that brought it up. So, yeah,
hey, you guys are the single ones. So, or Jonathan, you're the single one.
I'm not single.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? Tell me this: pros and cons for one night stands. If there's someone you've known, JD, this friend that you met on Badoo, you've been friends for 6 or 7 years. If she came to you and said, you know what, I just want a one night stand. If you were single, what would you say?
But that's not considered a one night stand, though, if you know the person.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in doing that with a friend. Like, when you're a friend, you don't cross that line. But I don't think there's anything wrong with one night stands if you're both adults, you're both single, and that's what you want to do.
I said to a friend one time, and we did it more jokingly, but we're like, well, if we both are 60 years old and haven't met anybody, then we're going to get together and blah, blah, blah. And we sort of said it jokingly, but it's kind of true. I mean, if you have a friend who's been a friend for a long time and you don't like, the online dating thing, and I've heard so many disaster stories, so many horror stories. I've also heard horror stories meeting people at clubs and things like that. Why would you not want to
get in there? I mean, we want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Have you had this scenario where you've had a friend approach you just for a one night of fun? Or have you used any of these apps before? Because there are so many out there. We've just, we're scratching the surface of what we have here.
Well, coming up, we're talking with Emily Wallman. She's the editor-at-large for Lonely Planet America, and we're going to see what she has to say about all the adventures around the world that they talk about.
You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You're listening to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
You're back with Off Topic with the Scott Brothers, and we've got a lot to talk about. This is Jonathan Scott.
This is Drew Scott.
And this is JD Scott.
We know, or you know rather, that we're big travelers. We've been all over the world. There is basically the guru of all things travel that we have on the line right now. We have Emily Wallman. She's the editor-at-large for Lonely Planet America, and she is going to tell us the things. Actually, you know what? Let's skip all the pleasantries. I want to know, Emily, just how I can get a job.
I'm not the right person to talk to about that, unfortunately.
And by job, he just means use him as a guinea pig for travel experiments.
I am okay with that.
We can do that. If you've got some writing clips, send them on over. I'll see what I can do for you.
I was just, of course, traveling through Europe and wound up in Mykonos for 10 days. And I thought this would be great. I'm actually going to write about my travel and my experience here. But that place is insane. The people party so hard till like 8 in the morning every morning. I decided that if I was going to write something, it wasn't going to be very legible. So,
are you saying that's difficult for you? You live in Vegas.
That is true. I do live in Vegas.
Right.
I'm well behaved. Actually, it's a nice blend of the party, but also of the beaches and the relaxation. So
the beaches in Vegas.
Well, Vegas does have beaches at the hotels. They're just man-made beaches. Let's talk a little bit about right now. Of course, we're entering fall, or we're in fall, and people want to know if they want a little getaway before the end of the year. What are some of the best destinations to travel to, or what are some of the things people should consider for fall travel?
Well, I think it depends where you're based, and as you said, if they just want a little getaway or if they have some more time. Personally, if you're based on the East Coast in eastern Canada or the eastern U.S., New England is stunning for fall foliage. I'm a huge fan. Gorgeous fall foliage. I love when the trees are changing color. So going to Vermont, going to the White Mountains in New Hampshire is breathtaking. But if you have a little more time, I'm actually a big Japanophile. So the maples out in Japan, especially around Kyoto and Nara, are just incredible.
Is that in the dictionary?
Beautiful time of year to be there.
Is that actually a word in the dictionary? Japanophile?
I like it.
I may have just made it up, but if it's...
I'm quite surprised because we're all in martial arts and we speak a little bit of Japanese, not nearly enough to get by, but enough. And I've never been to Japan. That's something I've always wanted to do. So maybe you'll have to be my tour guide for that. What if somebody wanted to travel within Canada? If they wanted to stay within Canada, what are some destinations that they should think about?
One of my favorite places actually in Canada is Nova Scotia. I went there once a couple of years ago in the summer, but in the fall it just comes alive with the crimson and the red and the orange leaves. It's just fantastic. And the Cabot Trail is a beautiful drive along the North Shore there. And
I've spent a lot of time in Nova Scotia, and Drew and JD weren't with me when I did those travels, but it is this incredible place. As soon as you go far east in Canada, everybody is so friendly. And I literally had several people invite me in for dinner who I just met. I happened to be walking around. They have their doors open to you, and they're, oh yeah, stay as long as you like, no problem. And I'm an antiquer. I love antiquing. Some great places around there for that too.
I've never been to the East Coast, but in my head I imagine that there's just cartloads of lobster that they're giving them away.
Actually, and life-size lobster too.
Yes.
Well, the one thing I know though, after the fall, everything dies down out there. I mean, there's nothing happening. I was actually out on the East Coast, and I found that on the weekend you could not find a restaurant or anything open. It was hard.
I don't agree with that. There was lots to do. I found when I was out there, and Emily, you can lean in as well. I found that there were tons of festivals that were phenomenal.
In the winter?
Yeah, like all through fall, winter, everything. The festivals. The food was great.
Well, Drew is actually in a town of 10, so that's why.
It was very hard to get around. Tell me this: how about cruises? A lot of people like to head down and hit a cruise, whether it's East Coast, West Coast. What's your opinion?
I personally have never been on a cruise, but I think there are a lot of options out there depending on what type of a cruise you'd be interested in. There are the big party cruises, there are the more family-oriented cruises, there are the more scientific kind of nature cruises, like the ones that go up to Alaska, those little Lindblad boats. So there are a lot of options out there, and I would totally do it. I just haven't had the opportunity.
Something that I've thought, for myself is I've heard a lot of people say that the Alaska cruises are beautiful and they love them, and I agree. I think I would love to see that, but I kind of feel like right now I want to go to warm places. I don't, I'll wait until maybe I'm a little older, then I'll do something else, but I want to go to warm places right now when I have the chance.
Well, we were just invited on the Kiss cruise by Shannon Tweed.
Yeah. There's a Kiss cruise. We're actually thinking of maybe we should do a Scott Brothers cruise. See how many people would want to jump on a ship and be stuck with us for a week.
Okay, Emily, here's a question for you. If you could go one place, you're around travel all day long, working with Lonely Planet America. If you had one place you could personally go, where would it be?
Oh, everywhere, anywhere.
Why limit?
Right now, I might go to New Zealand.
Ooh.
That might be my pick, yeah.
You just want to reenact your Lord of the Rings desires?
That's it. Aragorn, here I come.
You shall not pass.
Either that or your Flight of the Conchords desires. I don't know what it is. One or the other. But
actually, do you find a lot of people that use Lonely Planet, is it a mix of families, or do you find that a lot of people, single people, young folks are wanting to get out and meet other singles around the globe? What do you find is the largest demographic using Lonely Planet?
I mean, if you'd asked me that 20 years ago, I would definitely say younger backpackers. That's kind of, how we all got started. But everybody uses our books now, from the more well-heeled traveler to families to older folks. And still we have that young contingent that uses our guides like the Bible. They call it the travel Bible. So we really appeal to everyone, and we have different series and types of books that appeal to every type of traveler and every type of budget.
I could literally ask you a million questions because I want to know how you choose the destinations and everything as well. But I guess what we'll do is let's put it out to our fans there. People message us in and tell us where you want to go, if you've used Lonely Planet, what you found really worked for you. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. We have at Mr. Drew Scott and at Mr. JD Scott. Use hashtag Scott Talk and talk about travel. Coming up, some men are afraid of this more than impotence. We'll tell you what that's all about. Make sure that you hit us up at thescottbrothers.com, and you're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You are back with Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
Hey, and that was Jonathan
don't
and
you
JD.
Even try and go ahead of me.
JD.
This was them in unison. But we were talking about a topic that is very touchy for many men. This scares men more than impotence, and that would be going bald. Would you guys have thought that?
Well, I do take good care of my hair, and I have one time for cancer I shaved my head, and I realized I have a big weird head. So
it's funny because so does Drew.
I have a long skinny head. It looks very creepy. I was happy I raised a lot of money for kids' cancer, shaving my mop top, but I don't know if I would do that again in the sense I don't look good.
And it really was a mop top, so it was an improvement. Your hair was not very good back then, but that it's to me no surprise that men are more afraid of losing their hair than going impotent.
Now this was a study out of the UK. I'm going to give you guys a few facts here, and you tell me what you think the percentage is. How many men are scared of getting fat?
All of them?
60%?
I don't know.
No, come on. I mean, you would think that that's one of the scariest things, losing your shape, losing your body as you get a little bit older. 64%. JD was close.
That's pretty close.
So that means you're telling me that 46% of people are okay letting themselves go.
Have you looked at most people?
And that would be 36% if you're quick with your math.
Or 36%, yeah. I'm looking around the room here. That means that one of these three people have no problem letting themselves go.
Who would that be?
Oh. Okay, well, what about this? Percentage here. How many men are afraid of bad breath, getting bad breath?
50%.
I don't know. From some of the men I've talked to.
I would have thought it'd be around 80% because I hate that if I'm talking with somebody and then you don't realize you have that terrible, terrible breath. But only 24%.
I think that's about right.
94% of men worry about going bald. I would not have thought it would be such a high number.
Wow. Where are you getting these stats? Is this an accredited group?
It's a UK study. I mean, maybe it's a UK study, so they're not as worried about teeth or anything.
What about
like
not going bald? What if it was just going gray?
That they say 75%.
All right.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of worries when you're getting older about the things that could happen. And I know myself that I have these reoccurring dreams about losing my teeth, and either they're falling out or I'm clenching my teeth.
I have the same dream.
Yeah. So clenching so hard that they just are cracking and breaking out.
Out of all the things you guys can dream about, why would you two dream about the same teeth breaking?
We have talked about this before. It is bizarre, but it is the exact same dream. And the one I get the most is clenching my teeth so bad that they all of a sudden break.
Yeah.
And then I have no teeth.
Well, this is a UK study, so I don't think they worry about their teeth very much.
Oh.
But here's one topic.
You are British, man. What are you talking about?
Shh. It says here for men, I mean, it is a big fear for going bald, but what about for women? A lot of people think that it's okay to make jokes about women going bald. It says right here in this study that a lot of people crack jokes about women going bald, but that's not really fair. What's your opinion? Do you think?
I think that there's an even larger stigma with that women would be even more concerned than men about it. Because a lot of men can kind of get away with the no hair look.
With the Jean-Luc Picard?
Yeah, the Jean-Luc Picard. But, I mean, that must be very difficult for a woman who's, by standards in our society, they should have long hair.
Well, it's the same when people are going through cancer treatment and they lose their hair. There are actually charities that have proven that they create wigs for the men and the women, and it does actually make you feel better, and it helps with recovery to have that.
And the wigs actually are really good these days. A friend of mine, I just saw her a few months ago, and apparently she got alopecia, I think it's called, and that's where you lose all the hair on your body. And I never would have been able to tell because she had this really good wig on. But she told me that she has no hair left anymore.
There are still some really bad wigs out there, I must say, that I have seen. But maybe that's something that people just don't know nowadays. There's new technology, new products out there that can really help them.
So I don't know what the difference is between maybe I'm just not good at recognizing it, but somebody was telling me the other day that Tom Cruise is actually bald and that he wears wigs. And I'm like, to me, and as active as the guy is and all the stuff he's doing, I can't see that. I can't.
I don't know, because Sean Connery actually has been bald for a long time, and a lot of his movies when he was younger, he was wearing a hairpiece through them. And that was back in the 60s and 70s.
Well, I wonder, though, I mean, if this is for action films, they probably have different types of plugs or something else that they do that maybe helps hold on a little longer. Yeah. If you're diving off of trains and buildings, you need something that's going to hold on well. Not Top Stick ain't going to do it.
It's called Velcro.
I did see a video online, and it's where you get these snaps put into your skull, and you do snap your wig on, like literally metal snaps. So
yeah, I think that like the hair club for men does something like that.
Well, I've actually seen on social media that people have asked Jonathan if his hair is fake because it's always in that perfect shape. He just pops it off, goes for a different one. He's got the highlights, he's got the lowlights. When you look at this, a lot of people have these aesthetic fears, going bald, about getting fat. I think that more people in today's society, they worry about aesthetic things than they do about mental disorder or anything like that.
I think that the first concern really has to be, mental health, things like that. However, I'm not going to fault somebody for saying that they want to make sure that they feel, attractive, that they feel healthy. And so, people unfortunately in society will be judged or feel like they will be judged if they don't have, the perfect body or the perfect hair. And that's a whole other social problem that sets that up.
I think also the problem is people are concerned with what they can see and touch. And you can't necessarily always see the Alzheimer's. It's your hair missing
And I appreciate that. And I mean, I like to work out. I like to keep myself in good shape, so that's important for me. But for the two of you, Jonathan, you first, tell me, for you, what would be your biggest fear as you get older?
I would say Alzheimer's. I would say losing my
Mental
ability
capability.
to remember my memories.
And JD?
It's the same thing for me. I mean, we have seen a bit of that in our family, and it's just a terrible way for a person to go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's a scary thing for me. I think that would be my top as well. As much as I like to stay in shape, I would hate to lose my mental capability. But coming back, we're talking to our resident Hollywood reporter, Michelle Mahone, about celebs and their social media habits. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now back to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Well, you had your chance to get away, but you're still here, and you're back with Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm JD.
I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
And today we're joined by our good friend, Michelle Mahone. She's a stand-up comedian and our resident Hollywood gossip reporter. Hey, Michelle.
Howdy, gentlemen. How are you?
Excellent.
Great. We want to hear all the gossip. Fill us in on the latest for celebrity gossip.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I want to talk about. Celebrities lose their mind when it comes to Twitter. I think some of them think of it as email, and they don't realize that the entire world sees their tweets. Very interesting in the news, Elizabeth Hurley and Shane Warne have sparked breakup rumors, which turned out to be true because of their Twitter silence. Now, they announced their engagement on Twitter, and they tweet each other to the point of nauseam, these sickeningly sweet tweets back and forth, and then silence. And on Shane's birthday, instead of tweeting him a happy birthday message, she said she spent the last several hours fixing an alpaca fence. And then she apologized to her loyal followers for her recent silence on Twitter, saying that they were just too raw and personal to get into right now. And, some celebrities just blatantly tweet that they've committed crimes. This guy named Jonathan Scott tweeted, "At Mr. Silver Scott, advantage number 41 of being a twin. When Drew leaves his wallet in my car, I can buy sushi with it without question."
Hey, I thought that was just between you and I. Come on.
But that is funny. I mean, I've noticed a lot of that. I mean, you see even some of the pictures, some of the risque pictures that celebrities are posting, like Rihanna, and that's getting a lot of people into trouble, I suppose, as well, or some of the rants. Alec Baldwin.
What was it with Rihanna? What happened?
She has basically she's wearing outfits where you see everything. There's nothing hidden, and I guess apparently what she posted, it got some people in Thailand arrested with having those photos up on their Twitter. I mean, and it's the same with Alec Baldwin with his rants. I mean, he was known in the past for the voicemail that he left his kid, and that got him into trouble. But now through social media, the same thing. He has these rants continually.
I just don't get why people sort of check their brain because they're sitting behind a computer screen and typing this stuff, because no matter what I'm doing, I'm always aware of, who sees this, what's being said. I never say anything that is going to offend somebody.
I think one of the issues here is people don't have a filter.
I think was it Khloe Kardashian just removed her hyphenated husband's name from her Twitter account, sparking rumors that they're going to break up, something like it. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an oversharing society. There's actually, it's been documented, psychologists are calling it FOMO. It's now a diagnosed thing, fear of missing out. The younger generation is out of their minds with fear that they're not going to know that their friend is having a cheeseburger at 2:10 this afternoon. They must be connected. They must tell everybody everything they know. I mean, it works beautifully in my business, but I think that, when these people grow up and they try to get jobs, this stuff is forever. Even when you delete it, I got the screen grabs right here.
Right. And that's actually a really great point, because I've actually heard that several employers, they don't just do a background check anymore on employees. The first thing they do is go straight to a Facebook page. In fact, I know I do. If we're hiring on a new employee, I'll go on Facebook or Twitter to see if they have a profile and what they're posting. And I have been shocked to see, and I'm sure a lot of employers are shocked to see, some of the terrible things, like somebody smoking a blunt in their Facebook photo.
Yeah, well, for me, I just think, the people that are posting literally that they're going to the store, hey, I just bought some cereal, hey, I'm having a soda. Who cares? I don't understand why they think anyone cares.
Maybe it's more of a checklist for them. It's a checklist of their day. Oh, yeah, this is how I remember I did this.
Oh, right.
Did this.
It could be. Because for me, I try and tweet stuff that either makes me laugh or that's inspirational, or if I see somebody else that writes a great quote, I'll retweet it, something like that. But it's stuff, I think, that has a little breadth to it. It's not.
Although you do put pictures of yourself up in underwear, apparently. So
there may have been, I don't know, Michelle, what your take is on that. There may, of course, with everything that happened with Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball video, Extra TV posted a photo of me, who wore it better, of course, wearing the same outfit, dragging the sledgehammer. Good times.
Yeah. Jonathan, I'm going to just personally say Miley wore it better.
I thought I wore it better.
No, I voted for him. No, Miley has gone off the rails completely. Did you see what she wore to her last concert? It was like these dark pasties and this fishnet. I didn't know if she was performing a concert or going trout fishing. She looked ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think at some point she's going to have to realize enough is enough. So,
Any other last-minute points for us?
Well, yes. My absolute favorite has been the Jimmy Kimmel Kanye West rant. And this is another example. He deleted it. Jimmy Kimmel did this whole thing. He was making fun of Kanye. He did this radio interview with BBC One, and he acted like a child. So he hired a child actress to portray him. Kanye fired back, should I do a spoof about your face or you, Ben Affleck? And then my favorite, hashtag no disrespect to Ben Affleck, all disrespect to Jimmy Kimmel. Wow. He deleted it, but I got it, and we're still talking about it. Have a nice day.
People, it has been proven, can be a little bit childish through social media, but we will continue to do it. So hit us up through our social media. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers.
Special thanks to our guests, Emily Woolman from Lonely Planet and Michelle Mahone, our entertainment and Hollywood gossip reporter.
Next week, we are going to be talking about manscaping and, what in a relationship dictates who should be doing that.
I think it's usually a forceful, spouse that's doing it or something like that. But we will delve into the great marijuana debate as well, whether it should be legalized or not.
That and more coming up next week's edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers.
Remember to connect with us online at Mr. Silver Scott, at Mr. JD Scott, and at Mr. Drew Scott, or at thescottbrothers.com. See you next week.
You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. Want more of the Scotts? Check them out on TV. Catch the Property Brothers and Buying and Selling on W, a Corus Entertainment company.